Write your notes as if you're talking to a lawyer. If you have a conversation, follow up with an email, right? Again, what we're doing is we're looking to get it written down somewhere that you can pull it 2 years later and be able to recount that conversation with, again, you can't do from a phone call.
In my opinion, there should never be an important phone call that doesn't have a follow-up email, right? So you think about the process as a broker, like that introductory phone call, right? Like we took notes from that, we copy paste into our CRM every single time. So we had a detailed breakdown as to what went on in the file. Our team made a note every single time they followed up. We would do follow-ups via email and phone call, always, right? When it comes to planning conversations and telling clients what they qualify for and, any potential conditions or hurdles that we may face with that lender, that should all be documented. When you get an approval and there's a condition list, if you're telling a client that there's an approval and you haven't told them the conditions, that's not a good process to have, right? Like they need to know everything. Don't leave things out because you're working on it behind the scenes. Let them know that that's a current condition of this approval, but we are working through it. We have the document, the lender has it. We're waiting on an update. That's the most important piece, hands down. This conversation is about protecting yourself from liability and risk, totally. But clients also need to know what's going on. We have to remember that clients don't know anything about mortgages, and we unfortunately can get caught up in mortgage terminology that doesn't make sense to a consumer. But they might not want to tell you, or they might not want to ask the question and say, hey, can you explain that? And now you've left maybe a half an hour phone call and that client's head is spinning, right? Like they're not going to retain most of what you told them. So it's actually a really good process just for your client's sake to do that so that they can have a better understanding of what's going on in this file. Another huge component to this truly is when you end up talking to, let's say there's 2 borrowers on a file and primarily all the phone calls are going through one person. That's a real thing that happens in most situations. That email should be going to everyone involved in that application. It's only fair to that person that wasn't on the phone call that they're getting the same update written.
So whether it's a follow-up email or whether you're in your CRM, I've seen it go 2 ways. I've seen people write the notes inside, whether it's a CRM or whether it's in, Velocity or a different submission platform. One is talked with Bob today. It was a good call. And that's it. And then I've seen the other way, and the one that was most recommended to me by a couple lawyers that I spoke, write your notes as if you're talking to a lawyer. Write your notes as if you're talking to a judge, right? Write your notes as if you're talking to someone who has no idea what's going on in the file. And it's very self-explanatory as they're reading it. It's going to leave less holes for the opposing side to poke in order to make sure that you are able to get your point across. And hopefully it's, the correct point.
I mean, you think of claims when you're brokering and you're claim free 10 years in, like you don't think of it being a real thing. And you think of like, it's just going to be, the bad brokers, the people that are abusing the industry that are going to run into these, and totally not the case, right? Like some of the best brokers in the industry run into issues that, they might be totally in the green on, but you still have to go through the process and prove yourself.
Yeah, exactly right.